During a press conference today, I think Mike Johnson basically just gave away Donald Trump's and the administration's hand on how they're going to delay the Epstein files even further. Here's a clip of what Mike Johnson said during today's press conference, November 18th.
What am I to do as a leader in a situation like this? I call my counterpart in the Senate, Leader Thune, and I talked him through this with him and shared our deep concerns. And of course, they share those concerns as well. And so I'm very confident that when this moves forward in the process, if and when it is processed in the Senate, which there's no certainty that that will be, that they will take the time methodically to do what we have not been allowed to do in the House, to amend this discharge petition and to make sure that these protections are there.
Now, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is saying that he basically contacted Thune in the Senate because they're concerned that the Epstein File Transparency Act does not have the necessary addendums or amendments, to make sure that victims are protected and that certain information like CSAM, I can't say the words here, but just look up what CSAM is basically redacted properly. But the problem is that the Epstein File Transparency Act is very clear in the wording for that already. I have no doubt that Donald Trump already had a meeting with Mike Johnson, Thune, and other people in the Senate, as well as within his own administration, to give the illusion that they are okay with the Epstein files coming out, but are going to do things to delay it even still. You can let me know your theories and your thoughts in the comments, and you can follow for more news updates, but you don't have to.
It officially passed. In a vote of 427 to 1, the House has passed the Jeffrey Epstein files bill, making a major step towards finally releasing these files. But I need to tell you, the fight is not over, because even though the House has passed it, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, already said that he's kind of demanding John Thune, the Majority Speaker, inside the Senate to make some changes, which would then kick it back down to the House, which means it could still be quite some time until we see these files. But this is where you come in. We need every single person, every single state, to call your senator and say, vote yes. When this finally hits the floor, when we don't know when it's going to, just so you know, we don't know when. John Thune didn't really put out a timeline. It kind of looks like they want to delay it as much as possible, but we need to get as many people calling their representatives saying, vote yes when it comes to the floor. Vote yes. Without any changes. Let's get it moving forward so that Trump can sign it. And yes, I know what you're saying. Is it possible that Trump could sign it and then they turn around and say, well, it's under a full investigation, we can't release those files? That's also a possibility. There's a lot of things out there stopping these files from coming out. But make sure you're not one of those stopping those files. So once again, call your senator, say, hey, when this comes out, you vote yes to move it forward, or kind of force John Thune to put it on the floor in order to vote on it.
Earlier today, House Speaker Mike Johnson, looking like a deer caught in the headlights, addressed reporters and did everything he could to shield Donald from the political fallout of this looming Epstein vote in the House. Take a look.
Clearly, this is a political exercise for Democrats and a few others, sadly, and it is as deceitful and dishonest as their pointless stunt to shut down the government. Same ideology behind this. Democrats are trying to use the Epstein matter as a political weapon to distract from their own party's failures. And in a desperate attempt, they're trying to somehow tie President Trump to the scandal. President Trump has nothing to do with it. He has said himself he has nothing to hide. And that's clearly what they've been trying to do. They're trying to attack President Trump. This is what they've done. They weaponized the justice system over the last several years to go after him, and this is their latest attempt.
How can the Democrats, who are in charge of absolutely nothing, weaponize the Justice Department against Donald when the people running the Department of Justice are sycophants and fascists who are solely at the DOJ and the FBI for the purposes of protecting Donald from the truth being known about him? Also, how does that work exactly? How does this distract from Democrats' so-called failures? Like, honestly, the government's open again, and last I checked, Republicans are still in charge of everything. So Johnson then dusted off his old excuse for not wanting the DOJ to release the Epstein files, his deep, deep, Christ-like concern for the victims. Watch this hollow man's empty remarks now.
DOJ or the FBI has already reviewed it and determined it is not credible. It is false information. Doing this and requiring this to come out could ruin the reputations of completely innocent people, such as those who have may just have known Epstein but knew nothing of his crimes, or whose names he exploited. Think of this, innocent people whose names he exploited and used to try to get close to his intended victims. Their names may be in these files, and they had nothing to do with this. And so by just haphazardly releasing it, you're going to destroy their reputations.
Okay. What's wrong with that logic? Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years, and he's president of the United States. His reputation, well, I wouldn't say it's good, but it doesn't matter. So that logic doesn't.
Thank you for calling Speaker Johnson's office. How can I help you today?
Hi, I'm calling because I'm a little bit concerned that Speaker Johnson doesn't know how the government works or what his job is. I saw his press conference yesterday, I think it was yesterday, where he was talking about how unfortunately his pet buddies, their names are eventually going to be released, and he was whining about the fact that he couldn't make amendments to the bill. He said, quote, "They will take the time," speaking of Senate, when they get the bill,
"They will take the time methodically to do what we have not been allowed to do in the House, to amend this discharge petition."
So I wanted to make sure he knows that he did, in fact, have the opportunity to amend it when H.R. 4405, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, was introduced on July 15th. And instead of having that go through the process to committee and to the floor to amend, he went on a 4-month vacation to avoid it. And so that's why the discharge petition was brought. He doesn't seem to understand that. So I want you to let him know that. And then my question for you is, aren't you embarrassed to work for such a blatant and, quite frankly, very bad liar? I'd be mortified. I'd be mortified. He's blatantly, "Oh, we had no chance to amend it." Bro, it's public record. How are you going to back his lie? Tell me what he meant when he said they didn't have a chance to amend it. Go ahead, lie to me. I want to hear it.
I cannot speak.
It's not funny. You're right now playing defense for pet. You're disgusting. Your children are going to be so embarrassed. It's not funny, you fucking predator. You're a predator. You're a predator. I hope you go to prison.
Have a wonderful day.
Go to prison. Laughs at the end. Call Speaker Johnson's office today. So if you don't understand what I was talking about there, a normal bill to release the files was introduced to the House on July 15th. And that's when Speaker Johnson decided to go on an early vacation and then stay on vacation from July until last week. And so that's the reason the discharge petition got brought up. Because Speaker Johnson refused to go through the process that would give him an opportunity to amend that bill. And so when you do a discharge petition, right in it, it says we're going to vote on this as is. There's no opportunity to amend it. But the only reason they did that is because Speaker Johnson was obstructing. Call him and tell him you know he's lying.
The vote to force the release of the Epstein files just passed with more than a veto-proof majority in the House of Representatives. I cannot tell you how monumental this is on so many fronts. The final vote was 427 to 1. 5 House members were not present and did not vote. That no vote was Representative Clay Higgins, a Republican from Louisiana. He said he voted no because he is concerned that this discharge petition would interfere with the ongoing Oversight Committee investigation into Epstein. So, what happens now? That is the question. The reality is, with a vote this overwhelming in the House, the Senate is going to have to do something with this bill. The political pressure is just going to be too great to ignore it. Which, ignoring it is definitely an option the Senate Majority Leader has. I don't think he's going to do that, but it doesn't mean that Senate Majority Leader John Thune is going to bring up this specific bill to the floor of the Senate for a vote. The Senate could actually, and very well may, change or amend this bill. During the debate on the House floor today, House Republicans may have previewed what some of those amendments or changes to this bill could be. Even the Speaker of the House said the Senate should amend the bill. It seems that lots of Republicans believe that this specific bill, because of the way it is written, would expose the names of victims. But the question is, which victims are these Republicans talking about? The bill that just passed the House specifically says that victims' names will be redacted, meaning the names of the young girls who were trafficked and abused by Jeffrey Epstein and his rich and powerful friends. But what the Republicans seem to be concerned about are the other names in the Epstein file. See, when an investigation this huge happens, lots of names and contacts get put into the investigatory file. Those people may not have ever done anything wrong, but they may have come in contact with Jeffrey Epstein, or they may have sent him an email, or they may have gone to lunch with him. And then that name gets put in the file. Plus, there are definitely names in there of rich and powerful men who were on Epstein's island or on Epstein's plane and were never charged, and their names have never been disclosed. This bill that just passed in the House specifically says all of those names should be released regardless of if it embarrasses these people or their businesses or makes them look bad. This bill says all of those names should come out. But during the debate on the House floor today, several Republicans, including the House Speaker, were suggesting that those types of people who had their names in the Epstein file and were never charged with any wrongdoing should also have their names redacted because they could be hurt by the release of their names. The co-sponsors of this bill, Representatives Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, were pissed that the Speaker was leading this charge to change the bill in this way. They say he is now part of this cover-up and he is protecting those rich and powerful men. So back to what the Senate could do. Besides ignore this bill or amend the bill, the majority leader could also just put this specific bill up for what's called unanimous consent. Meaning, he puts the bill on the Senate floor and all 100 senators have to agree to pass it. If one senator votes no, then the bill would have to go back through the regular order process. The strategy, if Thune chose this option, would be to just get this Epstein file political hot potato bill out of his chamber as quickly as possible so they can move on. It's unclear what choice Senator Thune is going to make. We will see in the coming days, but the fact remains President Trump does not need this bill to pass in order to release the Epstein files. He could absolutely order the Justice Department to release the files on his own today.
One of the most ironic stories in Republican politics right now is how hard Donald Trump just sideswiped Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, just effed Mike Johnson over after months of Johnson running defense for Donald Trump's blatant pedophile connections. Mike Johnson has been quite literally running around the Capitol as it was shut down so he could halt, he could stall the release of the files and please his pedophile overlords. And in the final few days, as we're leading into the Epstein vote that's going to happen today, and as Donald Trump realized he lost all momentum and over 100 Republican congressmen and women were going to go against him, were going to go against his wishes and vote for the release of the files, Donald Trump, in one swipe, flips his position, and as this Axios article reads, Trump pulls the rug on Mike Johnson over the Epstein files. President Trump's stunning reversal has undercut months of work by Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, quite literally risking a lot of political capital, putting a lot on the line, and shutting the government down in order to protect Donald Trump, and Donald Trump throws him under the bus just like that. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson was just mentioned by Thomas Massie in front of all of the Epstein survivors. It's quite a sight to see the Epstein survivors clapping as a Republican describes how he's had to brush up against the friction of the president, the AG, the FBI director, and the Speaker of the House just to get the release of the files. Take a listen to this.
I have people, other survivors of other sex crimes, who come to me and say, thank you. You give me hope. You give us hope. There is hope here. We fought the president, the attorney general, the FBI director, the Speaker of the House, and the vice president to get this win. But they never, they're on our side today, though. So let's give them some credit as well.
Absolutely not. They don't get any credit for reversing their positions after months of trying to, not even have transparency for these survivors. They were throwing these survivors under the bus, and the second that they lost momentum, they decided to flip positions. And Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, honestly, is getting it the worst. He put the most political capital up at risk, and he's losing his bet.
They are finally on the side of justice. And as Rose said, don't muck it up in the Senate. Don't get too cute. We're all paying attention.
Okay, no, Donald Trump is not on the side of justice. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is not on the side of justice. They are on their own side. They are taking their own side. And if you watch my previous video, Mark Epstein is even saying, Jeffrey Epstein's brother is saying, the DOJ is very likely to hide and cover up any mentions of Trump throughout these files. I want to show you this clip of Jasmine Crockett explaining how Mike Johnson doesn't deserve any credit. He's not actually flipping his position. He's the one who tried to stop the release. Listen to this.
He's full of shit. Because here's the thing. Number one, we know that he didn't even bring the House back in because he was trying to avoid us dealing with Epstein. In fact, he would not even swear in a duly elected, now new member of Congress, depriving and having to be sued by her state and others because they literally did not have any representation. He violated the Constitution to avoid this. So miss me on pretending that this is about the victims. They shut down the House in a time when Americans could not eat, all because they did not want to deal with the Epstein files. And he has called it a hoax. And now he's saying that, well, there's something to investigate. He is all over the place. The one thing that we know for sure is that he was sued not once, but at least twice by alleged child sex victims alongside Epstein. You tell me what other Democrat was named as a defendant alongside Epstein prior to all of this jazz ever happening. We're talking about 9 years ago.
Very, very well said by Jasmine Crockett, especially the part about Donald Trump being all over the place. In one breath, he'll say that this is a hoax, that it's a complete hoax. There are no Epstein files. There's nothing there. And then in the next breath, he'll say that there is stuff worth investigating, but it's the Democrats.
Nays are 427. The nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed. And without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Uh-oh, MAGA Mike, 427 to 1. That was the final vote in the House of Representatives to release the Epstein files. MAGA Mike has been in utter terror. He's been panicking in public. He had to pretend that he was voting in favor of the resolution to release the Epstein files, so he can now try to figure out with Donald Trump a way to block it in the Senate. By the way, if you were wondering who was the one person who voted against the release of the Epstein files, it was MAGA Republican Congress member Clay Higgins. But before the vote was taken, 427 to 1, MAGA Mike got up there and spoke, and MAGA Mike was speaking in the House chamber, and he goes, "We really have a lot of national security concerns regarding classified information in those files. So we're going to have to work with the Senate after we pass it here, and we're going to have to make some major corrections." Watch MAGA Mike tremble on the floor, highly classified information, before the vote was taken. Here, play this clip.
It jeopardizes future federal investigations, and we have national security concerns regarding classified information. We'll put this in the record because we need the legislative record to reflect what is the legislative intent behind this vote.
And then MAGA Mike wanted to make it very clear in his opinion on the floor that Donald Trump has absolutely nothing to hide, nothing to hide. Just ignore that MAGA Mike just right before that talked about highly classified information, and that's why he's going to work with the Senate to try to block the resolution. But watch what MAGA Mike says on the floor about Donald Trump. Can you get any more pathetic than this? Here, play this clip.
They're using that as a political weapon to try to distract from their failures as a party and to try their best to try to tie President Trump somehow into this wretched scandal. The president had nothing to do with it. He's been very clear, and he has nothing to hide, and that's why he's endorsed the vote today. I suspect this vote will be probably unanimous. But here's the important point that everybody needs to understand. We have been advocates of maximum transparency, but we have also insisted that the victims be carefully protected. The Oversight Committee has been doing extraordinary work, and we've got some of the most vigorous advocates on the Republican and Democrat side on the Oversight Committee. They've been working in earnest to deliver transparency for the American people and to do it in a responsible manner.
Now, before that vote was taken, again, 427 to 1 to release the Epstein files, MAGA Mike held a press conference where he was surrounded by other MAGA Republican leaders, and he explained what he was doing. He goes, I'm going to go and move forward with the bill.
Thanks to Midas Touch, I had been able to listen to MAGA Mike Johnson today. And he was up behind a podium going, well, you got to be careful when you release the files because of who names are in them, because now they're victims. There's new victims of the people whose names are in them, and they haven't done anything wrong. Who the fuck do you think he's talking about? And guess what? Remember this. That's exactly what Donald Trump said to Fox News when he was on his fucking interview. And they asked him, would you release the Jeffrey files? Sorry for having to censor, but you know what I mean by the files, of course. And he said, yeah, I would. But then he backtracked and said, well, you want to be careful because, you know, there's people's names that would be affected and you don't want to hurt people's lives. Donald Trump, one of the most selfish human beings that has ever existed in the planet Earth's history. And you think he's going to give a damn about anybody else but himself? Fuck no. Because he knows he's guilty. He knows he's in those fucking files. He knows he's been in there. And Mike Johnson's like, well, we got to be careful because of the new victims. Which new victim you think it is? Donald fucking Trump. Of course it is. Of course it is. These guys are fucking gross as fucking hell. You have the victims who are clamoring, demanding the release of the fucking files. And these guys want to go, well, we gotta be careful. We gotta be careful about, we want to protect the pedos. Nah. They want to protect the fucking pedos. There is no low. There is no low. Mike Johnson, my dude, you're a fake-ass fucking Christian. You are bowing down to a man in Donald Trump who probably views himself greater than Jesus Christ. Hell, he probably views himself higher than God. But you bow down to that. You bow down to that. Mike Johnson, you want to claim to be some good-ass Christian? Guess what? Your ass ain't going to heaven. Your ass is going to hell when you die. You see, all of you that continue to support, that continue to push through, that continue to make excuses, that continue to bow down, and do nothing to stand against, you are just as fucking guilty as those in support and those who are doing the actions. The victims are calling for the release of the files, and you say, I want to protect the fucking pedos. I don't know why I'm angry. I don't know why I got angry. These people have no low. There is no low for them. There is no line in the sand. There is no line they won't cross. There is no excuse that they will not make. We should not be surprised by anything. But because we are fucking compassionate human beings who actually care about fucking justice, we get angry. We get shocked. Even though we shouldn't be shocked, we're just like, are you fucking kidding me? You have got fucking confirmation to release the fucking files, and you still say, I want to protect the pedos. You would never have the courage to say it, Mike Johnson, but we can see right through your fucking bullshit. You and Donald Trump both. You both say, fuck the victims. I care about Donald Trump. He's the real victim, is how you view it. Because you're not trying to protect anybody else, because you know exactly that you have to protect your daddy. You have to protect your master. Because you don't give a damn about anything else other than just knowing what your job is to do, Mike Johnson. Your job is not to actually be Speaker of the House. Your job is to simply bow the fuck down, kiss Donald Trump's ass, suck on his dick, and do as you're told. That is your job. You know nothing else except how to be a little kiss-ass fucking bitch. And there is no line in the sand. There is none. There is none. You fucking people are so goddamn disgusting. So goddamn disgusting. The victims are calling for the release of the files. And you still say, I want to hide the fucking truth. You all out there can get fucked. Fuck all the way off. Transparency? You don't know the fucking meaning of the word. You know the lies. You know how to lie, and you know continued cover-ups. Y'all are fucking pathetic, weak, sad pieces of shit. The more you hide it, the more guilty you already look. So fucking shameful and sad. Mike Johnson, I'd ask you to grow a fucking spine, but that's incapable of doing that. You're incapable of doing that. You're not a man. You're just a scared person. A little boy's got bigger balls than you do. Guarantee it. Perhaps saying balls was the wrong word, but a little boy has more courage than you do. Let me change that up there to make it sound better, I suppose. I apologize for my disgusting remark right there. That was a little bit inappropriate for the topic at hand. So I apologize. A little boy has more courage than you do, Mike Johnson. Shameful, sad